If you thought you were safe from having to produce your bank statements because you're on PIP and you work, or maybe you don't work but you have savings and you know that PIP is a non-means tested benefit, right? Well, prepared to be surprised for the next creep over information gathering reach. Because it seems that people on PIP are now being asked for their bank statements. I'm seeing more and more of these in my comments. Let's read it out. Recently had a PIP review and sent it back with medical proof. Now they're asking for bank statements and PDF format, which I have zero idea what to do as not tech minded. And given what has been happening with what we've seen here about this, is making me very nervous and anxious. I don't know what I should do. Any ideas, please? Yes, loads. Let me get into it. So first of all, thank you very much for your comment. And yeah, it is really concerning that bank statements are now being requested for people that aren't even claiming a benefit that is, means tested or not means tested in this case. So why are they doing it? And what can you do if you are asked suddenly, like this person, to suddenly produce their bank statements? Well, I think it's got an awful lot to do with this, which is part of some of the things that have been rolled out since the new white paper, getting people back into work. And if you didn't already know, this is actually paragraph 40 from the Get Britain Working Again white paper, where they want to focus heavily on people that have got long-term sickness-related conditions because they believe that it leads to economic inactivity, which has led apparently to a near record high. Stating that disability is rising. So the connection between these two here is that DWP and the job centre are literally saying, if you're too ill to come to us and look for a job, we're going to come to you. And I think they're going one step further with the bank statements by checking if what you're actually stating in your PIP assessment and on your PIP forms is actually true. And what I mean by that is in your bank statements, it tells an awful lot about you, which is why it's protected by data privatisation rules like the Data Protection Act and GDPR. Now, I have got quite a lot of videos in this playlist here, the Power, Surveillance and State Decision playlist about bank statements using all sorts of pieces of government legislation, including data protection rules to help you work out what you could be or should be saying to protect your good self. Or for example, in this claimant's position, if they're not wanting to give over the bank statements or they want to question why they're having to give them, then you're probably going to want the data review kit and my health journal. And I'm going to explain why in accordance with the bank statements. Now, information on a bank statement can say or be made to say, shall we say, if you want to look at it through a certain forensic lens, a certain thing about a certain person. It can say, well, this person has this type of lifestyle. They're spending money here and there on those days, at those times, in those shops. They're going out rather frequently when they're saying that they're too ill to leave their home, or that they couldn't come into the job centre or attend a work and health programme, for example. Meanwhile, everything on their bank statement is saying something completely different. Now, information, I believe, and data, as the data officer for my own company, I know, because I have to take quite a lot of courses and do lots of certifications for this, it is very contextual, which is why the Information Commissioner's Office in London will always ask the reasons why you want data, the reasons why you keep data, how you process data, etc., etc. So in the data review kit, there are a number of letters. I think there are 10 letters in there now, along with a really good 13-page guide that tells you all about that and also gives you really good letter templates that you can use for organisations, DWP and PIP, where you're asking them for certain pieces of information, you're getting them to verify exactly why you need to be handing over this data, while still telling them that you're going to be compliant, but you also know the rules and you know what you're entitled to not give over if you don't want to. Now, that's just one way of dealing with it. The next way is by proving every single day or every single week through the different trackers and the different things in this health journal that your health does actually impact you and affect you in the way that you say that it does, the way that you have declared it has done on your PIP application forms. Because look at it like that. If you don't have everything clearly documented, if you don't have a record of what you have written to them and stated, all they're going to have is that your word against theirs and bank statements. And then that can go into any dialogue really that it wants. This is why you need to have lots of different evidence that you control. And I say this kindly. The amount of people who are inside the insiders membership, right, that have health conditions, who are leaving the evidence in of their health, which is in your body, to somebody else is literally insane. This is your body. It is your health. You're the person that should have all the documentation about you and about your health and everything around it, benefits or work or employment claims and all the rest of it. You're the person that should have a single copy of all of that. You're the person that should be managing that data because it's your data. And you're the person that should be saying, okay, well, I'm happy to give that piece of information about me, that piece of data about me, to those people, but only for this purpose or that purpose. And this goes very deep into data protection law. So in data protection, even the government departments, they can only ask for certain pieces of information for certain reasons, and they can only keep certain pieces of information, particularly health related information, which is category A data. They can only keep that for a certain amount of time, and it has to be for a specific reason. So this massive data gathering that is going on with the bank statements, I do believe is really kind of borderline, if not overpassing what is kind of lawful with data protection. Now, the big mistakes that lots of people make is getting really upset, really offended, and I understand and I get it, but then refusing to give any information. And then in DWP's eyes or in a decision maker's eyes, that goes down as non-compliance. That's why the letters are so important. And then let's just say they take away your claim, they take away your money, or they do something that you do not agree with. If you don't have a copy of the letters that you've sent them and you want to take legal action, and don't forget in my recent videos, I have shown you how upper tribunals have completely gone against the decision of lower tribunals and even DWP themselves, where they haven't followed the rules. And in particular, there was one case that I covered for you here on this channel, which was all about DWP closing a claim because somebody did not give evidence. Now, that was ruled as being completely unlawful because entitlement to benefits, and PIP is going to be the same, goes from the day that it was awarded. It's not because of what somebody wants to interpret from a bank statement, because all pieces of information can be subjective and misused really in the wrong hands if that is what the purpose is, what it's for. Of course, that would be wrong and that would be unlawful, but these things do happen. Otherwise, there would not be upper tribunal rulings stating that DWP were incorrect and lower tribunals were also incorrect, and changing those decisions. And I'm going to leave you with one quote from that recent case, which the upper tribunal said: lower tribunals cannot cherry pick safe interactions. And that also goes down to the types of evidence and information as well. Because non-evidence with benefits, with things like PIP, is not non-entitlement, particularly for people with disabilities, because there could be 100 reasons why someone has done something in the way they have done it, or why they haven't done something in the way that DWP want. So make sure, number one, you are doing everything in writing. And if you're someone that struggles with the writing, then you need to get a family member or a friend or someone you trust to do it for you. Or number two, you go and get the data toolkit, which I'm going to leave the link down below. It should be somewhere linked on this video as well through YouTube. Number three, make sure you keep a good note of all of your health conditions and how they are affecting you on the daily in the health journal. There is a reason why this is a #1 bestseller. Okay, use it, use it, use it, use it. Anything you write in here can be used as a piece of evidence. This is called a contemporaneous note legally in court, and it can be used. So use it. And most of all, do not live in fear. Do not get really anxious and stressed about this. And I know lots of people will do. But if you're doing everything in the right way, and you have made the right declarations for the right reasons, and you are claiming what you are entitled to claim because of your health conditions, there is no reason for you to feel anxious. You just need to get all of your ducks in a row with having the right evidence in the right place, so that one, you can prove, as I said, what you have requested, what you have complied with, and by the very fact of you doing that, you're also forcing the hand of some of these decision makers to evidence exactly what they're requesting and why. And if you want any more help with that, you know where to find me inside of Insiders, which is my website membership where we go deep. We have lots of tutorials, lots of resources, and we have private group coaching with me, and I will see you in there.